All right, guys, there is a lot going on with Warner Brothers and DC right now. A lot of reports coming out, especially after they kind of butchered it at Comic-Con. They weren't really all exciting, didn't have much going on for them. Just premiered 2 trailers for 2 movies we already knew we were getting. There were no special announcements, especially after we were lied to all over again about Henry Cavill potentially being there, and he wasn't. Now, there's still so much up in the air right now, such as, is Henry Cavill actually in discussion to come back? Ben Affleck is now returning as Batman in the new Aquaman film, which I guess from a certain point of view it makes sense because Michael Keaton was supposed to be in that movie, but because Aquaman is coming out before The Flash, I guess they're cutting Michael Keaton and they're using Ben Affleck for those scenes. Then again, when you look at Ben Affleck in the photos with Jason Momoa, he does look a little bit healthier. He looks a bit bulkier. The jawline is suiting the Batman cowl that he wears. Is there a potential that he will be returning for future projects? Now, the Flash film is also something that is very up in the air because we still don't know what's going to happen with it, other than the fact that it is more than likely going to be releasing. Now, there were July test screenings for this film. There were test screenings back in March and May, and I swear 50% of rumors for this film was that it was mostly positive, but then the other 50% was the movie's kind of lacking. So who knows what to believe? Generally, that's what the test screenings are saying for this movie. There seems to be another 50-50. It's positive, but also lacking. I do have a feeling this movie is going to end up being an Aquaman type of film, where the movie is maybe really good on a first watch or it's really enjoyable, but when you look back at the film, it's just gonna be not memorable and kind of disappointing. Now, before we get into the sources, I have to just repeat myself again. I am not looking forward to this movie. I do actually kind of wish Warner Brothers bit the bullet and scrap this film. I am covering this because it is DC related. There are things to do with Ben Affleck and others within these grain of salt rumors, I guess you could call them. And also, if there is anyone excited for this movie, well, you might want to hear this too. Okay, there's no tier 1 source, which Tier 1 essentially means that you are 99% of the time right. You're pretty much correct about everything you report. So it starts at Tier 2, which is still very reliable, and then as it gets lower, those tiers become less reliable. Most information I want to talk about is in Tier 4, which is basically 50-50. Some things could be true, some things could be completely false, but you never know, it could end up being real. And I do want to cover this. Now, I've said many times I'm not a spoiler guy. I don't really like to get into spoilers when it's a world or a movie or an idea that I love. But The Flash is something I just absolutely do not care about. So let's get into it. By Twitter user Viewer Anon, so Tier 2 source, it says, the reaction I've heard as it's been with most Flash screenings is quite positive. Not a lot of, that was my favorite movie ever or anything, but most people I've talked to think it's a lot of fun. Don't think it's changed much in a year and a half, as it's still 2.5 hours. Of course, this movie hasn't changed in a year and a half because they have absolutely no idea what to do with this movie. They haven't had a suitable idea of what to do with this movie since it was planned in 2014. A Tier 3 source from Big Screen Leaks states, hearing that the reactions to The Flash were, like the last few times, positive. But then the next part says the reactions weren't overwhelmingly positive, like some people are saying, but the general consensus was that people had a good time with it. So was it positive or not positive? Okay. You can probably hear the unenthusiastic and annoyance in my voice, because that's how I feel with anything that is being done with this movie. So now this is where most of the information is coming from Tier 4, and like I said, once you hit Tier 4 and lower, it starts to get a little murky. You don't know what to believe. Regardless, I do think there are some interesting things in here, so let's just go through it. So from Age Up Arts, I can say with 100% certainty that Ben Affleck will return in some DC project after The Flash. A friend of mine saw a screening of the film last night and has shown me proof Batfleck is still currently in the post-credit scene, and it's kind of funny, actually. I have always had a feeling that Ben Affleck was always going to return one day, even if it is to technically fill in the void from Michael Keaton. It's still a good sign already. I really hope, though, that his presence within this movie is not just forgotten about. Like, hey, here's a cool thing with Ben Affleck's Batman, and then 5 years go down the line and you've never seen whatever they were planning happen. Now, moving on, my friend wasn't a big fan of it or its tone, but told me the audience loved it in their screening. That already gives the idea that nobody's on the same page. No one knows how good this movie actually is. It's positive, it's not positive. It's great, it's not great. It's bad, it's not bad. Who really knows? That's already not a good sign. For those wondering, Barry Allen is still autistic and has ADHD like from Zack Snyder's Justice League. So they've kept Terrio and Zack's input of Barry in his character. He also still has some social anxiety, which makes me really happy. When Barry opens video of Batfleck in the end of The Flash, it's Bruce in a batsuit at LexCorp from Batman vs. Superman. The Batman vs. Superman LexCorp logo could be seen. Really weird on that one. I don't know what that's supposed to prove or what that's supposed to show and how that could relate to Ben Affleck coming back later. I don't know if multiple screenings were done, but my friend who saw The Flash didn't see Pattinson in the cut. They saw a much different Batman besides Keaton and Affleck, though. Once again, what the hell is going on with this movie? That's right, nobody knows. Cyborg is still acknowledged in the movie, but it's a tiny reference. That I could 100% see. Unfortunately, out of all the actors from the Justice League in Zack Snyder's world, the one actor I don't think will ever come back to play their character is Ray Fisher for Cyborg. Very unfortunate. No CW vs. Flash, so Grant Gustin cameo didn't happen. On the main version of Supergirl in the movie, I'm told she looks absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and those set photos didn't do anyone justice. Set photos usually don't do much justice anyways. Something cool I learned. In the Flash film, there is a flashback scene to what our Barry was doing during Man of Steel events. Now that's cool. I like that. That's something I've wanted to see every character's input if they were in the world that shared those events. Of course, maybe for someone like Arthur it was different because he was just swimming around the ocean, but for other characters, what was their outlook on this? We saw it from Bruce Wayne's perspective in Batman vs. Superman. Now we might get to see an in-depth look of Barry's, but knowing how DC's been run lately, they probably won't give us much to be interested in at all. Barry has his powers and is wearing a makeshift suit prior to Zack Snyder's Justice League, where he's actively saving people from the World Engine disaster. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't believe that one. They've tried so hard to discredit any of Zack Snyder's work. I really just can't see that being a thing, and the amount of production that would probably have to go into a scene like that is too high for them to even worry about. They might mention the events of Man of Steel, but I can't see that happening. Now, this is from an undercover audience, which there is a good chance none of this is true. But once again, rumors and leaks can range up and down. Something could be 100%, something could be 0%. I'm just going to read it, see what it has to say. The Flash had an incredibly positive test screening yesterday night. Once again, how can we believe that when everywhere you look, it's 50-50? I'm guaranteeing you this movie is 50-50, if not potentially worse. Majority of the audience gave it an excellent rating. Highly doubt that, and I bet that is a statement coming from either one, somebody who just adored this movie, so 1 in a million, or 2, it was somebody who is praying this movie ends up being excellent. The runtime was close to 2 hours, 15 minutes, Once again, some are saying 2.5. Yes, Ezra Miller is still the Flash. Well, that was never a doubt. They still haven't made any official call on what they're even doing with the film. Apparently, Ezra Miller was fantastic in the Flash. The current Barry Allen and an 18-year-old Barry Allen had an amazing chemistry. Have been told that Miller absolutely nails both the performances. Guys, we're talking about Ezra Miller, a guy that pretty much half the fan base isn't even a fan of his version of the Flash. I can't see that being a possibility either. That just sounds like a bunch of people who want this to work. The Flash has cameos by Ben Affleck, Jeremy Irons, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, and Nikolai Waldo. There is also a CGI'd version, Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater. Michael Keaton as Batman and Sasha Calle as Supergirl are supporting characters. Half the runtime has Keaton in it. Ben Affleck, yes, we know. Jeremy Irons, I highly doubt that. There's been no rumor or even sight of him being in the film. Now, I know that's not confirmation that he's not in the film. I just don't see it happening. Gal Gadot as well. I feel things are very odd with the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman situation. I feel like she is currently going through a Henry Cavill situation as well. The studio is just not talking about it. I have a bad feeling about her future as Wonder Woman. Jason Momoa I could see because he's one of the last few standing members from Zack Snyder's cast. But Nikolai Waldo, like Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones, where in the world did this come from? I've been advocating for that guy to join DC for a long time. I've never actually mentioned that on the channel because it's never come up organically, although he is someone that I've always wanted in this world, which is really interesting his name even appears there, but as what? A CGI'd Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater? For what purpose? I love Christopher Reeve, but don't just use him to have him in the background for no real reason at all, which I can already feel. That's what this movie's gonna be. It's just gonna be a bunch of pointless scenes that in the moment might make you feel like that's cool, but at the end it's gonna be like, what was the point? 5 scenes that got the loudest cheers. The Barrys meeting Keaton, Keaton coming out in his bat suit for the first time, young Barry seeing old Batman, Bat Keaton saying you wanna get nuts, I hate that line, and Keaton taking over as the Batman. Not gonna like that. When the space-time continuum starts collapsing, Flash starts seeing heroes from different worlds, and that's when we see CGI'd Adam West, Reeve, Helen Slater, and Linda Carter. Well, of course, right? We already have Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, so why not get appearances of actors who played characters alive or dead from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, so we can attract to our core audience, which tends to be late 90s, 2000s, and 2010s people. A good chunk of this fan base is gonna be like, yeah, Adam West, cool, but why? There's a reason why it worked with Spider-Man No Way Home and why it's just not going to work here. There's also a Superman character whose face is blurred, probably to include a new actor. Well, if you're trying to include a new actor to take over Henry Cavill, I don't believe that one because the studio would make an announcement before the movie comes out. That could possibly happen, maybe, before the movie actually does come out next year in July. I don't believe that one, though. The Nikolai Waldo cameo is non-consequential to the plotline. He's just one of those dudes from whom Barry steals a hot dog while speeding. The same happens with Andy Muschietti's cameo towards the end of the film. Come on. I'm not even gonna comment on how stupid that is. Sasha Calle plays Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl in The Flash. Well, do they mean the TV show? She plays her part really well. Kara is mainly there to battle it out with General Zod, as the final battle sequence is happening during the Man of Steel timeline. So what, they're recreating Man of Steel so that she's fighting Zod and not Henry Cavill's Superman? Keaton sure plays an integral supporting character to Barry, but The Flash still is a Barry Allen film. It's about his desire to change the past and bring back his mom, and also prove his dad's innocence. I guarantee you when and if a big if they market this film, they're not going to market it towards him. They'll market it towards Keaton and Supergirl. Keaton is amazing, no doubt, but he doesn't steal Barry's lightning. Winky face. Don't like the way that was phrased and immediately don't believe it. The last 3 points in that are just stupid comedy sequences. Don't really care. Let's talk about what we just read. All right, so chances of any of this being real, I'm gonna honestly say I think there's a strong 80% that is just, oh, let's just make some stuff up and feed it on Twitter and then see how people react to this information. Once again, I don't like anything we're getting from this movie. I don't even want this movie to release. The only things I am looking forward to is Ben Affleck's Batman, and I'm sure that is 1 minute of the movie just sporadically spread out in different scenes, beginning and end credit scene. I don't want Michael Keaton's Batman coming back. I don't want the universe retconned. I just think this is a very cheap cop-out to bank off of the idea of Michael Keaton's Batman returning in a way that just won't work the way it worked for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. This movie is just a clear indication that Warner Brothers still has no idea what they are doing with the DC universe. And with David Zaslav at the forefront and Alan Horn rejoining Warner Brothers again, there needs to be some serious changes and fast. I understand why some things cannot be changed because a lot of these films already have contracts. There's obligations you have to fulfill. So I could understand if there's nothing they can do about these movies and nothing they can do about the intricate workings of the film. Although whatever this movie creates does not necessarily mean we have to abide by it, because Zack Snyder created something and they clearly didn't want to abide by that. Make your Flash movie, make your Batgirl film, and then move on from this really wretched idea. Also, one of the most important things about this film that not enough people are talking about, how are we going to watch this movie and really appreciate anything about it when we know the type of guy Ezra Miller is? This movie is going to be stained with the reputation, attitude, and personality that Ezra Miller has. And even too, when you think about it, that's something that should be focused on before we even start getting into these leaks. What is Warner Brothers doing about Ezra Miller as the Flash? Open up this damn communication. Why are we still struggling with this? Grace Randolph apparently reported today that Ezra Miller is done. He's out after this movie. Grace Randolph also likes to do this. She likes to yap her mouth, and 50% of the time she's wrong, if not more. She used to be good, but recently, over the past couple years, she's awful. So how can we take that as a reliable source? Still, just an awful situation they find themselves in. David Zaslav must be looking at this company and saying, what the hell have I gotten myself into? There is so much work to be done. For every day in the year, there is tripled the amount of issues to 365 days. Just getting really fed up with these movies, with what's going on here, especially the unknown and lack of communication. Just focus on what works. Focus on what the majority of your fans want. And if you go on any comment section for DC content, you'll know what they want. Ben Affleck's Batman, Henry Cavill's Superman. They want to see more of the nightmare world. Where's Darkseid? Even Robert Pattinson's Batman, keep that separated, but that clearly works. Nothing else here's working. Stop pushing it, because I guarantee you when this movie comes out, it ain't gonna be pretty. That's all I got for you on this video. Super, super frustrating, and I'm sure many of you guys will watch this and feel the same way I do. Let me know in the comments below what you think of some of these leaks and rumors and statements, if you think they're gonna be reliable or if you think it's just full of shit. But just like usual, everyone, I am sure we will hear more within the coming months. I'm sure there will be changes or more false rumors, whatever it might be, because that's pretty much what just goes on within Warner Brothers now. But until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.